Hey guys, Scott from Boy again, continuing our off-roading 101 series. Today we're going to talk about off-roading safety and some recovery and recovery equipment, how to use it, how to be safe, how not to get hurt when you're out there on the trail. First thing I want to talk about is personal safety. This is a really big deal because what we're doing, covering vehicles that weigh up to 6,000 to 7,000 pounds, we're pulling them through obstacles, we're using ropes and cables and straps and potentially chain even to extract these vehicles from situations in varying environment with varying terrains, varying amounts of how badly they're stuck, how much force is it going to take, how quickly are things going to move. It's all kind of unpredictable. So it's really important that we think about safety first. Big thing about this is whenever you're performing a recovery, we want to make sure that you've got a good pair of gloves on. When you're dealing with steel cable, chains, metal D-rings, you're going to want some protection. As the cable starts to fray, we can get some pretty nasty cuts. We can get some pretty bad pokes. You can drag some pretty nasty, rusty, corroded materials through your hand. It's going to hurt. We want to make sure that you've got that. We want to make sure that the equipment that you're using is appropriately rated for what you're trying to recover. You wouldn't use the same winch or the same recovery strap on your 1-ton Dodge as you would on your 2-door Jeep. Each one's got a different weight rating. We might have some of these things that are maybe for the lighter vehicles at our beck and call, and if we hook them up to something heavy and they break, these heavier items, they become projectiles. They'll fly through the air. They'll fly through the air. They'll do some serious damage to vehicles. They'll hurt people, possibly even kill people. So we want to make sure that that is really looked at. We want to make sure that the people that are helping you recover, that you have your communication schedule worked out first. What does it mean to pull more? What does it mean to pull less? What does it mean to stop? One of the things we see quite often is the usage of the word okay. The problem is that okay means start and okay means stop. Which one is it? Okay, 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 okay. Well, what if they didn't catch the different inflection in your voice? We need to use words that clearly explain. We need to set up hand signals that clearly explain what the expectation is, and it needs to be understood by both parties, preferably sight distance and voice distance. You want to be able to hear and see if possible. You want to know the equipment you're using before you start trying to use it. These are some of the things that are going to help keep us safe. We want to make sure that if we're doing a pull, we're doing a winch pull, that nobody is in line with the cable. This is the one where the kids need to scatter and get behind a tree. This is the one where people shouldn't be standing 10 feet away from the cable. They need to be up and out of the way in case something breaks and lets loose. We want as few people in the area as possible. This is critical. So I kind of want to segue into the off-road recovery gear, what kinds of things we need off-road, the different kinds of straps and what they mean. So quite often we see people get a strap from anywhere. Number one rule is we don't want any hooks on the ends of these straps. We want looped ends. Every weighted piece that we add is a potential projectile. So we want to eliminate as many weighted pieces as we can and get them out of the mix so we're not throwing things at hypersonic speeds into somebody's face. That's a really big deal. It's very dangerous. The next thing we want to talk about is there a difference between a tow strap and a recovery strap or a snatch strap? Absolutely. You want to know the difference. One is elastic and one isn't. If we're pulling something across a concrete parking lot that won't run, we really don't want any stretch in that. We want a pretty solid pull. We just want to be able to put all of our energy into rolling it across a static surface. But that's not the same strap that we're going to use if somebody's hung up on a rock ledge or in a mud puddle. We're going to want a snatch strap. We're going to want some elasticity. And we're going to use that because we may need to take a little bit of a running pull at somebody. And with that tow strap, we don't have any give. With that snatch strap or that recovery strap, we have some elasticity. So the fibers will pull apart and then retract, and that eliminates some of the yank. It'll help keep things like tow hooks and bumpers from being ripped off. It cushions that pull. You also get dynamic action as the tow strap starts to shrink itself back together. It assists with that pull. It's also known as a kinetic recovery strap. There's ropes like that too. This is a kinetic recovery rope. It's designed to stretch. It's designed to reduce the blow or the hit, and then it's designed to pull itself back together. This one's rated for 38,000 pounds from Voodoo Off-Road. This one's about 19.8 thousand pounds. This is from Bulldog Off-Road. And again, this is a snatch strap. This is a tow strap or a recovery or a winch extension strap. They look very similar in the fabrics. It's a woven material. This one stretches, this one doesn't. If we're trying to extend more, if we're pulled out on our winch as far as we can get and we need more, we can use a tow strap or an extension strap for that purpose. It's not going to give. That's an area we don't want give. Or if we're anchoring a vehicle back. Sometimes you're pulling somebody up a hill, and that's going to try to drag your vehicle down a hill, and you need to anchor it. If you're going to anchor it to a tree or to another vehicle, you want something that's not going to stretch. That's what this is for. Okay? They look very similar, but they are not the same. Make sure you know which one you're using. After a while, you may start to see little red and blue fibers start to show up in the weave. Now, these are wear indicators. Now, when you start to see this, that's when it's time to replace your strap. That's when it's stretched. Each one of these can only stretch and contract so many times before they're worn out. When you start to see the colored fibers show, that's when it's time to replace it. Another important thing to talk about is our tree saver strap. Anytime we need to anchor to a tree, we're going to want to use a tree saver. This one is from Bulldog Winch. It's a 10-foot strap. And what we're going to do is we wrap that around the tree bark. It doesn't damage our tree. If we put a wire rope around a tree and we cut the bark on it, we're going to kill the tree. And that's going to be bad for a couple of reasons. Number one, you're killing a tree. It's probably not your tree, so you shouldn't do that. Two, it helps keep the environmental people off our back. The less damage we do, the more chance we have of staying and keeping the ability to go off on these trails. If we use this, that tree can grow up and continue to be good without any harm, and we can use it as a pull point. It's perfectly safe, and everything will work fine. This is another important piece to have in your arsenal. What we do need is things to anchor these to our points, and we're going to use shackles for that, different kinds of shackles. This is a regular metal shackle, otherwise known as a D-ring. This is an important piece to have. The center section will unscrew out of this. And what we're going to do on our recovery straps is we kind of loop it through like this, attach the other point wherever we need to, like this Factor 55 hook. And that gives us a nice, solid, closed point to pull from. Now, it's important that we're using high-quality D-rings. It's important that we know what they're ranged or what they're designed to work within. If you look here, you'll see WLL 4 3/4 T. That means working load limit 4 3/4 tons. Okay, so we want to make sure we don't overexert this. We also don't want to be in a situation where we're pulling sideways on this thing. We want to pull straight as possible. That will help keep us from breaking it. We also want to make sure that we seat the pin all the way when we're done using it or when we're getting ready to pull. We don't just want to have a couple threads started because it can rip apart and then it goes flying. Now, in the past couple years, they've actually come out with another piece that seems to be a lot more safer and equally as durable, and that's what's called a soft shackle. And this is out of your synthetic ropes, similar to what's on your winch. This one is from Bulldog Winch as well. And how this works, this replaces that ring. This, you just loop it through like you would. You loop it through your your hook just like you would anything else. Hook it onto the knot of the ball, and then you pull. You have something that's very reliable, very soft. It doesn't weigh anything. It's not going to become a projectile. It's just as strong as this. Now this is a piece that we want to keep relatively clean. Dirt, rocks, fiber, things that will grind on the various strands. These are going to be the enemy of the synthetic ropes. We want to keep them as clean as possible. We want to limit the UV. They tend to be a little bit UV sensitive. All of the strength comes in here from the multiple strands. So if we get in here and we start sawing on these strands or wearing on these strands, that's when these are wore out. I recommend getting the pieces of equipment that have the wear sleeve on them that helps prevent some of that so you don't start cutting the strands. And these are really nice because instead of having this big heavy piece sitting there, you have this nice soft rope that you can wrap around your rearview mirror, around your roll cage, whatever. It's easy to grab, it's easy to hook up, and it's a whole lot safer than these. Another piece of our arsenal that we need to have at our disposal is a snatch block. Now what a snatch block is a really simple pulley. Now we can do a couple things with a snatch block. We could anchor this to a tree. We could wrap our winch cable through there and pull back to ourselves. By using the pulley, we can get leverage and we can increase the strength of our winch. More often, I see this used as a change of direction. If you can't get a straight pull to another vehicle that you need to extract, you can go to a tree and then come off through the pulley over to a different direction and actually change the direction of your winch pull. So if you can't get directly in front of them, you can pull them from the side, even from the front, from the back. You can go up in front of you to a tree, come back to the vehicle and pull them forward. This is where I find this mostly used for. We've done all this talking about winches. We want to talk about winch line, and we want to talk about the hooks and things that go on the winch. Most of our standard winches are going to come with a hook, like this. They are strong, they are weight rated. This little strap, everybody tends to throw them away. This is designed to hold on to as it pulls in, so you don't have your fingers anywhere near where they can get smashed. You leave these on. I think these work pretty well, but the open hook design makes me kind of nervous. We're only pulling on one side. We don't have full strength. I like to look at these. These are from Factor 55. These are winch shackles. They're made out of aluminum, and it's part of what we want to call a closed winching system. So instead of the hook going on like that, and let's say this little spring clip gets broke and this has the possibility of falling off, or if we just look at it and we realize we're only pulling on one side, really, that's really not going to be the strongest piece out there. If we worked with a closed winching system, then there's no open area that our recovery equipment can just fall out of. There's no, everything is distributed evenly across. We have a much stronger and safer rigging device like this. There's no hooks, nothing's going to fall out of there. Much safer, lightweight, and they look great. There's several different styles, and I highly recommend this. We also recommend the synthetic ropes. Synthetic winch rope's a lot safer. It doesn't store energy like the cable does. The downside to the synthetic rope is going to be that sunlight affects it, dirt and grit affect it, and they're going to wear out every couple of years. Steel cables could last forever if you take care of them, but they store energy. The last piece I want to talk about is winch weights. When you're pulling with a winch cable and you have all that stress on there, if you have something, if you have a winch weight, which might be like an orange vest with a couple of D-rings dropped in it, it might be your coat, it might be a shirt you can tie around it, anything that you can put on the winch line that will put some weight on it, that if it were to break, it will pull the energy downward to the ground and it'll keep it from flying, or at least slow it down. That's the last piece I'd like to add about that. Other than that, these are the most common pieces of recovery gear. This is what we get asked about most of the time. And if you're doing overlanding, or you're getting back there, or you're doing rougher four-wheeling, this is the kind of stuff that you're really going to want to have in your rig so you can get yourself unstuck or anybody you may run across. So thanks for watching our 101 series about recovery gear, and we'll catch up with you guys next time.